Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today we are checking out the Wilderness Boss Rework design blog. Wait a minute, are we actually getting a Wildy Boss rework? Let's check this out. I've already skimmed some of the pictures that they've put in this, but I haven't really read through the full blog post. A bear, a spider, and a skeleton walk into a bar. Oh, alright. Jagex got jokes already. The bear is proficient with magic but can't navigate rocks. The spider is rendered useless by hitting it with a pointy object every 1.8 seconds. And even thinking about the skeleton means a whole gang of PKers materialize out of thin air and murder you in cold blood. The bar isn't really relevant, but these patrons are sure bizarre. Alright, that was a pretty good one. Honestly, it sounds like Jagex understands the problem already. Wait a minute. On March 13th, 2014, we released a Wilderness Rejuvenation blog. Just as a heads up, guys, I didn't migrate to OSRS until January of 2015, so this is way back. The blog detailed the Wilderness Resource Area, Edgeville Lever changes, the Wildy God Wars Dungeon, the Fountain of Rune, the Looting Bag, Dark Crabs, extra Rune Rocks, and of course, the Wilderness Bosses. There were 3 intended to be fought on your own, the Crazed Archaeologist, the Chaos Fanatic, and Scorpia, and then 3 that you would have to bring your friends to take down, Venenatis, Callisto, and Vedian. Bringing your friends out to Vedian, what are you talking about? The Wilderness Boss Rework aims to revitalize the latter group to bring them up to our modern standards for bossing. These 3 bosses were initially intended to be a challenging multi-combat encounters which would incentivize adventurers to band together and take them down. However, the ingenuity of players knows nearly no bounds, and all 3 of them can be fought with very little interaction, completely solo, and with some unusual safe spot mechanics. I have no idea what you're talking about, Jagex. Currently, Callisto, Venenatis, and Vedian have extraordinary defense values, as without a doubt the truth. They hit extremely hard, and they don't particularly care about your prayer either. This makes them perhaps a little bit too punishing. It's no wonder why players have found such creative ways to defeat them and secure pets, the dragon pickaxe, or various wilderness rings. 100%, if you don't use these safe spots that they brought up before, these things are unfightable at the moment. It's such a waste of time to just fight them normally. You can get kills just letting them attack you, but it's a serious waste of supplies. It takes way too long per kill, not to mention you're out in the wilderness, so you could get PK'd at any time. We want to deliver a proper multi-combat group boss experience with interesting mechanics. We're talking about group bossing here. I mean, apparently that was the original goal of these bosses, was to make them group bossing. We want to deliver a proper multi-combat group boss experience with interesting mechanics, the ability to keep topped up between kills in case PvP combat breaks out, and the rewards that make the risk worth taking. By topped up between kills, what I'm looking at is right here. Do they mean like being able to always have supplies at the end of the kill just in case you're in a fight? Like banking between kills? I'm interested to see what that leads to. If you are just trying to secure some sweet drops but you're dreading the thought of multi-combat, don't fret, keep on reading because this rework has something for everybody. Yeah, they're not going to force you into just getting PK'd by clans the whole time. There is going to be a single combat option. The Wilderness Boss Lairs. To properly rework these bosses, we need to go deeper. Quite literally, we've put them in a big ol' cave. We'll detail a few more additions to the wilderness surface later on, but bear or spider or skeleton with us for now. So you got lots of jokes in this one. What's going on here? Each of the bosses will have a unique entrance to its lair somewhere on the wilderness surface. There are no entry requirements. You'll just need to bring a bit of gold, gear up, and be ready for the battle with bosses and players alike. Players will be able to peek inside lair entrances to see if anybody's lurking inside, but will not be given a specific number, meaning that somebody inside the lair could be a single person taking down the boss, a small team of players fighting the boss as a group, or a whole team waiting to pounce on anybody brave enough to risk entering. It's probably that third one most of the time. Once you have entered the boss lair, you can't leave the way that you came in. You'll have to either fight your way through the boss or try to evade its attacks and get to the lair's exit. Upon exiting any given boss lair, you will weave your way through a web of dark tunnels and find yourself at one of 3 randomly selected locations inside the escape caves. Any player exiting the same boss lair as you within 10 seconds will also be able to follow you to the same location in the escape caves. Well, I kind of figured that the randomly selected part was so that it wasn't as easy to PK you, but if they're within 10 seconds behind you, they will be able to follow you. Scroll down a little bit here. The escape caves are also multi-combat and will be filled with some mid-level NPCs to keep you on your toes. Between the random exits and these NPCs, we aim to discourage players from camping outside the exits or hopping through worlds while inside. The trick's in the name: run, escape. Oh, I see what you did there. And I see what they're doing with the exit caves now, too. Somebody that was fighting the boss with you could follow you to the random exit, yes. But the idea is that, like, people that are camping outside the exits won't be able to know where you're going to show up suddenly. Even though you'll find yourself at a randomly selected boss lair exit, each of them is themed with a little unique flair from each of the bosses. These themes are looking pretty cool for these caves, not gonna lie. And you can see like some of the monsters here. There's a little spider there, the skeleton, and the bear. Those will be some of the mid-level NPCs that follow you around. Evade any would-be assailants and stay quick on your feet to find one of the 4 exits and continue your daring escape across the wilderness surface. So you can go into the lair, fight the boss, but to get out of the lair, you have to go into a second quote-unquote escape cave, which has 4 exits to it. Players trying to enter the boss lairs or escape caves will be asked to pay a fee currently set at 50k, which is dropped to any player who might slay you. That's why they said you'll have to bring gold. By holding your own and contributing to boss kills, this fee will be decreased by 10k for each successive kill where you are the MVP. So 5 boss kill MVPs will guarantee you free entry after your next death. Interesting. Getting kills will make this fee go away, but likely most players will have some cash on them. The exact values of these fees and decreases are something we'd especially be interested in hearing feedback on. We want to discourage people from ragging on bosses en masse without prohibiting regular players from getting stuck into fun mid-game boss encounters. Yo, here's the visual I was looking for this too. So once you get out of the boss's lair, let's say you have just killed Venenatis, you go through Venenatis' exit, it sends you first to these escape caves. You'll be sent to one of these 3, like, tan X's here at random, and you have to get to one of the 4 red X's to be able to escape the cave. So PKers could try to camp one of these exits, but if there's a team of PKers, like, up here, and you happen to be spawned in down here and just run to this exit, you would never see them. The wilderness bosses, we're moving on from the lair. That's all the information they gave us. Looks pretty interesting how it's going to work to be able to get in and escape. Sounds dangerous? Good, but why would you ever take the risk? For your brave endeavors, you can expect to see much better rewards than the current wilderness boss offerings. We're aiming for a GP per hour rate in line with content like Vorkath or Alchemical Hydra, but with much lower requirements. We reckon that this will offset the risk you'll be taking. In terms of difficulty, the Wildy bosses should be intuitive enough to let you focus on the potential threat of other players. On top of riches, you'll be able to secure a handful of new uniques targeting various current wilderness offerings. More on that later. I'm very interested. What if I'm not into the whole multi-combat thing? Still not convinced? Looking for something a little less nerve-wracking? You're just after a pet, maybe a ring or 2? We've got you covered. While we want to deliver on the initial intent of multi-combat, high-risk group bossing experience, we understand that even with plentiful rewards, multi-combat wilderness bossing is not going to be everyone's idea of fun. We would like to offer a toned-down, single-way combat equivalent of each of these 3 bosses. These guys would likely sit around or below level 30 wilderness, would be mechanically similar, or simpler encounters, than the multi-combat counterparts, while still retaining the unique identity of each boss. The aim here is to provide a safer alternative that isn't totally devoid of risk, with encounters that will let you prepare for potential attacks with switches, freezes, and plenty of supplies. Not even in just this single-way combat, but the fact that they brought up supplies for potential PK encounters a few times, it sounds like these bosses are not going to do that much damage to you. You'll be making less GP an hour at these singles equivalents, but you'd still have a shot at their uniques, the Dragon Pickaxe, the Pets, and Wilderness Rings. We'd like to rebalance those variants so that the time to complete for any boss collection log entry is roughly the same, if not shorter than it is presently, while having less specific gear requirements and more intuitive mechanics. I mean, it sounds like they had an idea of making this more enjoyable to grind out and potentially very rewarding, while still being risky because it's in the wilderness. The real deal. Enough about the safer alternatives, let's talk about the big 3. Callisto. You may have noticed that Callisto is a massive bear. No way. We'd like to make him act like one. Nice. Here's a picture of Callisto in his lair. If I click on this, it's going to zoom in too much. No, we're looking okay. Looking pretty sweet. A lot of ghostly trees. Still kind of the same vibe like, out in the wilderness where you currently fight him in general. Throughout this fight, Callisto will constantly run towards a target and attempt to attack with a devastating melee attack, and he couldn't care less whether you're praying or not, so he's going to crush with melee. While he's retaining this immunity to magic, he's vulnerable to freezes, so if you've already poked the bear, considering asking him to chill out with a barrage or 2. Okay. If he's unable to attack the player, Callisto has a handful of other attacks to keep players on their toes and get particularly angry below a certain HP threshold, altering the fight significantly. And then it just goes on to Venenatis. That's all the info we get? That sounds kind of intense suddenly. Wait a minute. I'm interested in the fight being actually, like, kind of fun, not just, like, the safe spots that we currently have, don't get me wrong. I was just saying before, though, how I thought you probably won't use a lot of supplies in here if they're trying to make sure you have supplies for a potential PK encounter. But if the fight is going to be kind of legit, then maybe they expect you do use supplies if you're messing it up. What is worse than 1 spider? 2, 3, a seemingly overwhelming number of them in an unrelenting hunger for prayer points? Probably the last one? Yo, Venenatis sounds horrible. Venenatis should be a lot more like a spider matriarch and will summon a number of spiderlings throughout the fight. Sounds a little bit like Sarachnis. The number of spiderlings summoned varies based on the number of players in the room. Thankfully, they're not too resilient. A quick whack with any weapon that you can get your hands on should see them off. Make sure to deal with them quickly as they are hell-bent on running you down and draining your prayer with every attack. Venenatis likes her personal space and will make every effort to move away from the player so that she can bombard them with a deluge, I've never heard of that word, of range and magic attacks. These attacks get stronger for every spiderling left alive, so it's imperative that you keep on top of your pest control. We're not talking about Void Knights. Okay, so even killing those spiders is going to be a little more important, where the Sarachnis fight, even though it spawns spiders, you really can just ignore them and keep fighting Sarachnis, so it's going to be a little bit different. And the man Vedian. Before we talk about the fight itself, we should probably address the skeleton in the room. When compared to Callisto and Venenatis, Vedian's model isn't in line with what we come to expect after so many years of old school. But yeah, they're reworking the look of Vedian. It's apparently a work in progress, but it does look a little more, honestly, a little more like HD version of him. I've never hated the look of Vedian in general, but like if you look at his bones, like you can actually see like some definition in his legs and his arms and stuff. This does actually look pretty cool. Our art team has worked to bring Vedian's model up to scratch while we try to retain as much of his identity as possible. He's still a big old skeleton and still equipped with a fancy Kopesh, and he'll still be sporting his signature "What shade of purple even is that armor?" For any of you lucky enough to call Vedian Jr. a companion, we'll be giving the players an option to transform between the old and the reworked model. That's pretty cool. So you get 4 total transmogs on Vedian now. Taking on Vedian is all about awareness and positioning. He will make use of his Kopesh and lightning magic attack to keep you on your toes throughout the fight. Yo, Vedian's room is looking sick, dude. Not gonna lie. We've also given Vedian some defense training, which he's put to great use in a potent defensive potion. If you see his shield raged, hold your fire, or you'll risk a pretty nasty deflect. Okay, sounds a little intense. His signature skeletal hellhounds will make a return, requiring your full attention while Vedian peppers the room with lightning attacks. If that isn't telling enough to deal with, after running out of health for the first time, Vedian enters phase 2, you know, the orange one. The orange armor has lower defense than the purple equivalent, but Vedian more than makes up for that with increased max hit and faster attack speed. Bro! They make it sound like these things are going to be a bit intense, not going to lie. Let's get into that rewards section, dude. On top of better GP an hour, we've added a few unique rewards to build on existing wilderness content. Read on for a long overdue buff and some devastating attachments and the return of a fan favorite, the Thameron Scepter. This one's already in the game compared to the other wilderness weapons, the crossbow and the Vigorous chain mace. The scepter feels a little lackluster. Alongside the boss rework, we'll be reworking the scepter to a powered staff with a max hit equal to your magic level, divided by 3 minus 8, and an attack speed of 4. On top of plus 15, this is a lot, dude. Hold on. This means that at 99 magic, you'll be hitting up to 25 magic damage every 4 ticks. Unlike other powered staves, this is a new and improved offering that will be able to hit players. Since crossbow and Vigorous chain mace function pretty nicely for getting a little bit of extra damage off while escaping, we didn't want to short the magic users. The wilderness bonus will be changed from plus 100% accuracy, plus 25% damage, to plus 50% accuracy and 50% damage. Okay, that went down in accuracy and up in damage. It's pretty interesting. Honestly, I have not used the scepter like ever. It's really not useful for that many things, so we'll see what this does. This same bonus would also apply to non-powered spells cast with the staff equipped. That was kind of hard to say. Though the scepter cannot auto-cast any spells. Oh, that doesn't seem that helpful. Both the regular attack and any other spells casted while wielding the scepter would consume ether. Again, I haven't used this staff much, so I don't have too much to say about the buffs, but if these look like solid buffs, then I am down. What better way to celebrate the Thameron Scepter buff with another Thameron Scepter buff? A Cursed Scepter. The Skull of Vedian would be a rare, a tradable drop from Vedian. What a shocker. A player with 85 crafting can combine the skull with the Thameron Scepter to obtain the Accursed Scepter. If you don't have 85 crafting, Andros, Maya, and the Ferox Enclave will combine it for 500k. Okay. The Accursed Scepter is a tradable upgrade to the reworked Thameron Scepter with a magic attack of 22 and a max hit equal to your magic level divided by 3 minus 6. Meaning at 99, you get up to a 27, so only a +2 increase there. This accursed upgrade also gains a special attack, Condemn. Condemn costs 50% special attack energy and performs an attack with 50% increased max hit and 50% increased accuracy. On a successful hit, the target's defense and magic are reduced by up to 15%. Ooh, nice. It reduces defense. Defense and magic reduction from Condemn cannot be lowered beyond 85% of their initial value. For a target with 80 defense and 80 magic, Condemn cannot reduce the stats any lower than 68. So you can't stack specs on top of each other like you could with a BGS or a Dragon Warhammer. Let's go ahead and check out this DPS chart real quick. We don't have to dive too deep into it necessarily, but I'll point each of these out real quick because this may not be so easy to read unless you get to zoom in like this. But the top 2 lines here are the new items we're talking about. This green line is going to be the Thameron Scepter once it is updated, but then if you get that Skull of Vedian drop and you upgrade it to an Accursed Scepter and you have max gear, then this is the DPS that you would rather get. And for a comparison, this is only in the wilderness, because if you look down here, this is how they would do outside of the wilderness, or these bottom lines. Up here, this third best staff, this is a max gear harmonized staff. This blue line is the Sanguinesti. And these dotted lines down here, this is the Trident of the Swamp and the Trident of the Seas. Clearly, these will still be better outside of the wilderness, but if you're in the Wildy, it looks like Thamron Scepter and the Accursed Staff are going to be pretty sick, as long as something is somewhat weak to magic. Next, we have the Web Weaver Bow. The Fangs of Venenatis will be a rare tradable drop from Venenatis. Again, a huge surprise. A player with 85 fletching can combine them with the crossbow to make a Web Weaver Bow. Alternatively, Fabel Bile. Man, these names are getting more and more difficult to say. In the Ferox Enclave, you can get it combined for you for 500k if you don't have the 85 fletching. The Web Weaver Bow is a tradable upgrade for the crossbow. It requires 70 range to wield and has 85 range attack bonus and 65 range strength, compared to 75 and 60 from the crossbow. And it does gain a special attack called Swarm. Swarm costs 50% special attack energy and unleashes 4 attacks in rapid succession with an increased accuracy. Each of these attacks is capped at 40% damage, theoretically maxing out at 160% damage if every attack max hits. On top of this, the successful attacks have a chance to inflict poison on a hit, starting out at 4 poison damage. Alright, that's pretty cool. Increased accuracy and then sort of like a D-Claws type spec. And we'll go ahead and check out the DPS chart for the Web Weaver Bow, same as what we were just looking at before with the Thamron Staff and the Accursed Staff. Up here we have, actually, if you look over here, they're calling it the Max Arachnids. I think this was the original name for the bow, was like the Arachnids Bow. If you're looking at this chart name, I think this is supposed to be the Web Weaver, rather. But at the very top, this is where the Web Weaver Bow would be, and it's just above a crossbow as long as you're in the wilderness. Whereas if you are not in the wilderness, you have to go all the way down here. The only thing worse on this chart than these 2 wilderness bows being used outside of the wilderness is this blue line that shows magic shortbow and amethyst arrows. But this third line here, this purple line, is for a blowpipe with amethyst darts. That's why it's dropping so quickly, is because the blowpipe is not good when things have high defense. And right here, this blue line, this is the bow of Faradin. In general, the main thing you're looking at for Wildy range life is you're going to be able to upgrade your crossbow to get a little bit more DPS out of it, but also you're going to get that special attack, so that'll be pretty cool. I've also not noticed whether or not these will still use Ether. I'm kind of assuming they will, but it hasn't said anything like that yet. And then we have the Ursine Chain Mace. The Claws of Callisto will be a rare tradable drop from the Deranged Archaeologist. Just kidding, it's Callisto. Hilarious, guys, we get it. A player with 85 smithing can combine with the Vigora's Chain Mace to make the Ursine Chain Mace. Alternatively, someone in the Ferox Enclave will be able to combine it for 500k. The Ursine Chain Mace is a tradable upgrade for the Vigora's Chain Mace, requiring 70 attack. It's going to have 71 crush and 74 strength bonus, compared to the 67 crush and 66 strength bonus from the Vigora's Chain Mace. And then it also gets the Bear Down special attack. Bear Down costs 50% special attack energy, and it hits with 100% improved accuracy. So that doesn't mean that it's a 100% chance to hit, it just means that it doubles the accuracy. If Bear Down does hit, it deals 15 damage over 6 seconds and drains 50% run energy over time. If the target has 0% runner energy, the damage dealt will be doubled. Wait, what? There's so many things in this special attack. I want to reread that. 50% special attack energy, 100% improved accuracy. So it has the same max hit, but doubled accuracy. If it hits, it'll deal 15 damage over 6 seconds. So kind of like a quick poison effect, damage over time kind of thing. And it'll drain 50% of run energy over the same time, making it pretty solid for PvP uses. And if they're already out of run energy, the damage will be doubled. That's kind of wild, dude. And same thing with the DPS chart. We can speed through this one because it's going to be exactly what we were seeing before. So this second best line, that's currently the Vigora's Chain Mace, as long as you're using it in the Wildy. And it'll be upgraded to the Ursine Chain Mace here, also getting that special attack. All the other lines down here, the 2 dotted ones, those are the 2 Wildy weapons if you are not using them in the wilderness. And then real packed tight in here, the best line, this purple one, is the Blade of Salador. This blue one is a Tentacle, and this darker blue one is a Whip DPS. You try to avoid using these weapons in the wilderness when you can already use, like, the Vigora's Chain Mace. So the big thing here is how much of an increase in DPS you get from Chain Mace to Chain Mace. Plus, that special attack sounds kind of crazy. While we are here, let's talk about the Dragon Pickaxe. We understand many players' long-standing concerns about such an impactful skilling upgrade being locked behind high-risk activities. On top of including the Dragon Pickaxe and single-way combat equivalents outlined earlier in the blog as a redeemable action, we'd also like to do the following. That sentence was a tongue twister, dude. They also want to do these things. Adjust the Dragon Pickaxe drop rate from KBD down to 1 in 1,000 from 1 in 1.5k. Add the Dragon Pickaxe to the Calfight Queen's drop table at a 1 in 400. This would be a longer grind than the existing bosses, but a safer alternative. The Calfight Queen could use a little love and sat alongside the KBD as an endgame PvM encounter in Old School's initial release. That's actually a fairly reasonable comparison there, I will admit. And we'd be open to attaching some more high-level skilling content, such as Volcano, or some slightly riskier content like the Volcanic Mine. It would be cool if it came from skilling content, rather. Though I do like a bit of a balance where PvM helps out skilling, and then skilling helps out PvM, so I don't mind having like a variety of places to get the Dragon Pickaxe, but that is kind of a huge change to make it so we could get it outside of the wilderness. 1 in 400 from Calfight Queen really doesn't seem that bad. Yes, on average, that'll take more hours than just sitting down and KOing some Venenatis, but you don't have to go to the wilderness to do that. It is also true that the Calfight Queen, its drop table is garbage, so having a Dragon Pickaxe on that drop table would be nice, but if we make it easier to get the Dragon Pickaxe, keep in mind that's going to slowly drop the price of the Dragon Pickaxe. That about wraps it up for the rewards and the return of the fan favorite. Of course, you're right. Let's talk about the Void Waker. I'm actually not sure what this is. I don't do a lot of PvP. Some kind of PvP weapon with void associations. It rings a bell, but nothing familiar is staring back at us right now. Each of the 3 bosses will drop a piece of the separated Voidwalker, a blade, a hilt, and a crystal. As components, they are tradable. The NPC beneath the Old Knight will offer to reassemble the Voidwalker for 500k. I realized I just called it the Voidwalker that time. I don't know if I've called it the Voidwalker every time. Void Waker. I'm probably going to mess that up a few times here. The completed Waker is also tradable, and it behaves like any other item on death. The Void Waker is a tier 75 melee weapon requiring 75 attack, 75 strength, and 60 magic. On top of offering a best-in-slot, non-degradable option for training strength for any 75 attack builds, the Void Waker has a never-before-seen special attack, Disrupt. Disrupt costs 60% special attack energy, and it deals guaranteed magic damage between 50 and 150% of your melee max hit. We lied about the never-before-seen thing. It is the Karasi's sword with a fresh lick of paint to fit it better within Old School. I do remember the Karasi's sword. Of course, Karasi's sword reputation was a so-called spec weapon is pretty infamous. We'd like to make clear that we're not planning on adding any items similar to the Ring of Vigor in RuneScape from 2010, which reduced the special attack cost of the sword and increased its power level significantly. But we can go ahead and check out this DPS chart. I had the Karasi when I was a kid playing RuneScape back in the day, but I definitely didn't use it to its full potential. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that people told me it was a good weapon. I mean, there's a ton of weapons squeezed in here. This very top line, this is base 75 stats with an arc light versus a demon. It's the black line right in the middle here is the kind of DPS you would get with a Voidwalker, so a little bit lower than fighting a demon with an arc light, but that's like thick DPS fighting a demon with an arc light. Oh, wait a minute. Also, this black line for the Void Waker, that's as long as you're using the spec. Down here, this is if you were just using this weapon and like never using the spec. So the spec makes a very big difference here. But like this blue line here, this is base 75 melee stats using a bludgeon. So this would be solid strength training for that 75 attack build, just like they said. That about wraps it up for our Wildy Boss rework proposal. It's a pretty significant shift, and we are excited to share it with you all and see what you think. All right, honestly, that's a pretty heavy proposal. This is going to be a longer video than I thought, for one. We got to see what the boss lair looks like, or a general idea of how the boss lair will work with the exit caves and whatnot. You might want to go over that a couple of times. It seemed like an interesting idea, but that'll probably be easier to understand, like, in practice. Like, you get teleported to this exit cave, one of 3 random spots in the exit cave, and then there's 4 other exits that you can hit in that cave. So it's going to be hard for PvPers to find you in there, unless there's just enough of them to cover, like, all the exits, I guess. The boss reworks look like they're going to make these things kind of intense. Callisto looked like it was going to be a difficult fight, talking about how once he hits a certain threshold, the fight will alter significantly. Venenatis is going to have a bunch of little spiders and a lot of prayer drain, and then Vedian overall just sounded like it was going to be regular Vedian attacks at kind of an extreme pace, and a pretty cool new look to Vedian. Upgrading the Thamron Scepter sounds pretty good on paper, since it is lackluster, just like they said. Also, the upgrades for the weapons look sweet. You're going to be able to upgrade the Scepter to an Accursed Scepter using the Skull of Vedian. You'll be able to upgrade the crossbow to a Webweaver bow using the Fangs of Venenatis. And what was it? The Ursine Chain Mace from the Vigorous Chain Mace using the Claws of Callisto. All those look like they'll be pretty sweet upgrades. They didn't say anything about using Ether. They did, like, when we were just talking about the Thamron Scepter up here. Right here, they said that, like, the regular Scepter would still consume Ether. But then they didn't bring up Ether any other time here. I'm assuming that the upgraded weapons will use Ether, but we will see. The Void Waker does seem interesting that they're trying to basically add the Karasi to old school RuneScape. I do like overall the added rewards here. The Wilderness rework does look like it's going to be pretty intense. You're still going to have to go out there and fight these bosses in the Wildy, so a lot of PKing action is going to happen. I will be trying this out once this rework happens. As a rework, I don't know exactly if it gets pulled or they just do it, I guess. I'll just be waiting to see what happens in the near future. Let me know what you think about the potential Wilderness boss rework, everybody, in the comments section below. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I appreciate you all watching this review on the blog post for the Wildy boss rework. If you enjoyed the video or you just got some useful information, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch, which should be linked on the screen and in the description. I'm also on Twitter and have a Discord, which are linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and best of luck on your Wildy boss grinds.